We will now open the conversation to journalists. So please raise your hands, identify the organization you belong to, and then ask your question. I will try and accommodate as many as possible, starting with Sanjay Suri.
But we do have a time issue.
Yes, and within a certain...
is it possible for me to use one of those mics and walk around here?
Yes.
When they're asking, so it's more...
that is meant for the question.
Okay, I won't do it.
For the question.
I won't do it.
Yes.
Mr. Gandhi, this is Sanjay Suri from CNN News 18 television. May I first assure you, sir, that contrary to a statement put out by your party, any concern raised over 1984 is not hostile or planted. The Congress party seems to have locked itself into a knee-jerk denial over this. You yourself have made that statement yesterday. If I may, yeah, sir, complete my question. The fact is that the denial seems to have become a big part of the problem, because this kind of denial is leading to a denial of justice that is wrong in itself. It is also creating a huge problem politically in India and outside. As the new president of the Congress, a lot of people would look up to you to perhaps find a way of breaking out of this kind of knee-jerk denial.
I don't know what knee-jerk denial you're talking about. I'm very straightforward. There's no confusion in my mind. If violence has been done against somebody, there is a legal process. That legal process must go on, and the people who have carried out violence against somebody must be punished according to the law. And I will support that 100%. I said in the earlier part of my speech that I'm a person who understands violence. I do not believe in violence against anybody, regardless of religion, regardless of community, anybody. And that's very, very clear.
Yes, Naomi.
Bank default. I want to know what your view of how the Indian government is handling his case. And also, the CBI has just sent a video of the prison that he might be held in, where he extradited. Do you think Indian prisons are up to scratch?
Indian prisons are up to scratch. Indian prisons are difficult places. Before leaving, Mr. Malia met some of the senior BJP leaders. That's documented. I won't name who, but he did meet them. So they're pretty lenient with these people. Mr. Nirav Modi took 35,000 crores. Mr. Mehul Choksi, they took off. And strangely, when the government of the country where they were sent a notice to the Indian government didn't really respond to the notice. There are relationships between Mr. Nirav Modi, Mr. Mehul Choksi, and the Prime Minister. And these relationships come in the middle of justice. But the real question is, when we talk about job creation, Indian banks gave 35,000 crores to Mr. Nirav Modi. Mr. Narendra Modi let him run away from India. How many jobs did Mr. Nirav Modi create? That's the real question. On what basis was he given 35,000 crores? What are the foundations of his business? And then once you've done it, why aren't you trying to get him back? And that's the same exact thing for Mr. Malia. I think Indian prisons are pretty decent places as far as Mr. Malia is concerned. You see, justice should be the same for Indian people. It shouldn't be that just because you're Mr. Malia and have 9,000 crore rupees in the bank, that you require a different jail than other people like you in India. We believe in equality.
Yes. Sraboni. Sraboni is with Anand Bajar Putrika.
Hello. My question is, you just mentioned that prime ministerial candidates will be decided after the election is over, if your party does win with its coalition partners. Is this a problem? Because what if all the regional leaders, then you have Mayawati, you have Mamata, all wanting to be prime ministers? Do you see a potential problem in this situation?
All of the opposition in our conversations are very clear that the first and most important challenge is to stop the RSS BJP from attacking and destroying the Indian state and its institutions. That is the first and most important point. And there is absolute acceptance, unity on that point. And they've also decided that we're not going to get into conversations that distract us from that goal. And the press likes to do that. The press likes to keep starting these sort of conversations, but we're not going to fall for that trap.
Yeah, the lady there in that table. I'll try and take as many questions as possible, keep them short.
Is there a threat to freedom of speech in India, and would your party ban a book such as the Satanic Verses, as Rajiv Gandhi's government did? Subi Shah, BBC News.
I'm quite liberal myself. So I don't believe in banning books and things like that unless there is absolute clear risks of violence erupting, right? But my default position is I like to allow people to make judgments on information. I don't want to be the person telling somebody that that's not something that you should be interested in. I respect individuals, I believe in them, and I think that they have the ability to make that judgment. So I'm not for banning books. I also think that in today's world, banning a book really doesn't mean anything because you will always be able to find it on the internet somewhere. So it might have worked 20, 30 years ago. Today, it's a non-event. And you'd probably get people looking for that book by banning it. You'd actually probably increase its sales. There is a systematic assault. There's a systematic assault on freedoms in India. There is an attempt to impose one ideology on our country. Ideology coming straight out of Nagpur. And frankly, there is an attempt to centralize power and control the Indian state through one organization, the RSS. Yesterday I said that the RSS is a lot like the Muslim Brotherhood. And there's a storm in a teacup, I believe, back home. So let me just make it clear. Both organizations were founded in the 1920s. Both organizations believe in institutional capture. Both organizations view the electoral process as a means of capturing institutions. Muslim Brotherhood was banned after Anwar Sadat's assassination. RSS was banned after Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. So there are tremendous similarities. Oh, by the way, the last one, and the most interesting one. Women are not allowed in either of these organizations. So let's talk facts. They're similar. They're trying to do the same thing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to capture institutions so democratic voice is throttled.
Yeah, journalists only. Questions from journalists. Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Gandhi. I had the pleasure of listening to you in Hamburg. My name is Manu Pillai. I write a newspaper column for Mint. Your message seems to be one of sobriety and saying that let's take a step back and do this properly. But we're living in a country of very many young people where the sexy bullet train is somehow a sharper message than improving the old rail gadi. How is the Congress going to communicate to a restless young audience?
You're saying take a step backwards. I'm not saying that. I'm saying take a step forwards. Also, by the way, the bullet train isn't moving. It's stuck because the farmers on the track are not allowing it to move. So yes, you can have a fancy poster saying bullet train, but the cost of a ticket on that bullet train is more than an Indigo flight, will be more than an Indigo flight. And it's about 1 lakh crores for a couple thousand people a day. That's a bad investment. By the way, we were offered the same thing by the Japanese. You know what our response was? Our response was, give us the money and help us strengthen Indian railway infrastructure. Give us 1 lakh crores. We'll gladly take the money. But what we'll do is, we will strengthen railway infrastructure, increase the speed of the railways, of the entire railways, not by 300 kilometers, but by 30 kilometers an hour or 40 kilometers an hour. We'll make it much safer, and you will see the GDP need to do that. So when you go into details, the solutions are there. But you kill the solutions because you don't want to go through the rigor of actually developing the solutions. Mr. Modi himself said it. I mean, you might have seen the video. He himself said it. Look, the bullet train is not important. You see, the world has to see that we can make a bullet train. It's all about seeing. It's not about the truth. But that stuff doesn't work. And there's a lot of truth that we can do that's very powerful. We can revolutionize healthcare in India. We're sitting, you know, you press guys make fun of me. But we're sitting on a healthcare gold mine. Our population, our medical processes, the fact that Indian doctors are there in pretty much every country, healthcare itself can create a strategic transformation of our country. But there's no conversation. Right? And when I say the future of medicine lies in connectivity, lies in connecting the processes, medical processes, the press laughs at me. It's fun, but they're wrong. It's the same thing I used to hear when I was a kid, and leaders of the BJP were giving speeches saying, very senior leaders who went on to become very, very senior, won't name them, were saying that Rajiv Gandhi's gone mad. What use are computers? This man doesn't understand India. This man doesn't understand that computers have nothing to do with India. And then the same person going 15 years later and giving a speech on how brilliant computers are. It's fascinating.